Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to my live lesson for today. We're going to look at the types of exercise that we get, common types of exercise. While I just check that everything is working and that everything is doing what it needs to do, I will quickly introduce myself. My name is Tanita, if you didn't already know who I was. I am an ESL coach, all right? So I basically help anybody who's learning a language or learning English learn the right way and learn efficiently. So what I like to do is help students know how to use the right techniques, strategies, and tools to learn the English effectively. And also to learn the language on your own, right? Because as much as you might want to be in class or having classes all day, it's also really important that you know how to learn on your own as well. You know, that for me is something that's really important. I don't think you always have to be in classes all the time or having lessons or joining speaking groups. At some point, you need to be able to study, learn, and use English and make it a part of your life, without having to always be in one-on-one lessons or group lessons. All right. Of course, those are fun. If you enjoy those and they really help you with learning, then you join them. I offer private and group lessons, so I'm not saying don't ever do them. I think they can be great options. But if you don't have the money or the time for those, then you also need to know how to learn this language on your own. And that's basically what I help students do. I help you learn how to learn English on your own and effectively. So using your time the right way, because we're all busy. We all have jobs or kids and things that need to be done. So I want to give you the tools, techniques, strategies, activities that you can do, understand the psychology behind it, understand how your body impacts your learning. And basically, that's kind of what I want to focus on. And that's what I help my students with. Okay. So then I think let's get straight into our topic for today. All right. I can see everything does seem to be working. All right. So we are looking at the common types of exercise. I can just see my video is not showing here. So let's just get that showing. All right. So we're going to look at the common types of exercises. I've included 10 exercises. So remember, if you watch the whole video and then complete the exercises at the end of my video in the comments, you could win a 50-minute free session with me. You can use this session to figure out why your English is improving, and I'll help you with understanding what could be blocking you from seeing progress and then how you can fix it or what you can do to change that. Or you can use the session to simply practice your speaking skills. It's really up to you. So if you really are looking to change your relationship with English and you want to see progress, consider completing the exercise. It's just a written activity. It's 2 questions, I think, at the end of the video. And if you complete it in the comments, you could win this 50-minute session. So for a few minutes of your time, you could win a 50-minute session. All right, let's get started. Types of exercise. So we're going to go straight into our first one, which is cardio. Okay. Now, cardio is often known as cardiovascular exercise, but we tend to shorten it. In English, it's very normal for us to shorten this word because it's just too long. I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a technical difficulty. Just give me a moment. I want to just make sure that my video is still showing because I'm not seeing it on my side. So I think everything is still working. Let's continue anyway. Okay, so cardio, often shortened to or is known as cardiovascular. Cardio exercises focus on increasing your heart rate, so and improving your heart health. It involves continuous movements that keep your heart and your lungs working hard. Okay, so basically cardio is any kind of activity where you're continuously moving, you don't do something and then take a break. So it's like normally a much longer form of exercise. And the whole point is, you know, when your heart starts pounding in your chest and you're breathing very heavily, the lungs and the heart are working hard for this kind of exercise. Really good for keeping your heart strong and healthy. Let's look at some examples. Running on the treadmill is a great way to do cardio and improve endurance. And cardio is often a high-impact exercise that is not gentle on the joints. So there are some disadvantages to cardio. You don't have to do high-impact cardio. There are low-impact cardio, which basically means the impact on your joints is low or high. So something like we can see in this picture, running, okay, is considered cardio because normally you run for 45 minutes, an hour, or even longer. It's continuous, right? And it requires a lot of heart and lungs work, basically. But it is high impact, meaning every time your foot hits the ground, there is an impact on your different joints, like in your ankles or your knees. And we're going to look at the word joint as well. So that would be a high impact exercise, but there are low impact exercises that you can do as well, like swimming. Swimming uses the arms a lot. It's cardio, but not so high impact. There's no force acting on your body because you're in the water. So some vocabulary. First, we have the treadmill. I realize this is a very common kind of equipment that you might see for running if you're at the gym or can't run on the road. So this is a treadmill, basically. And the joints. So here's the joint that I was talking about. So inside areas like your knees, your ankles, in your wrist, for example, we have a joint. This is kind of where the bones join, as you can see here. And this part of the body keeps everything moving nicely so that you can actually move your legs or move your wrist. If you didn't have joints, this would be impossible, basically. So when you put a lot of pressure, all right, if I punch with this hand, like if I'm doing some kind of kickboxing, every time I hit something, there's a force that goes into the joint. If I do it very often, I could cause damage. All right, so cardio often causes some joint damage. So you got to be careful. You got to have the right shoes, the right equipment, and the right technique. All right, that's cardio. Let's go to our next one, which is weightlifting. This is my favorite. I much prefer weightlifting or strength exercises. We also sometimes call it strength training. All right, so weightlifting involves using resistance, such as dumbbells or barbells, to strengthen and tone muscles. We will look at some of this equipment shortly under vocabulary. So the idea of strength is to create resistance. So for example, here, the resistance is gravity and then the weight. She has to lift it, which means she's fighting against gravity, which wants to pull all that weight down. That is resistance. So anytime you have something heavy and you're pulling it or pushing it, that is resistance. You're probably doing some kind of weightlifting. Weightlifting doesn't need any kind of equipment either. You can also do this with your body on its own. Some examples. She enjoys weightlifting to build her arm muscles and increase overall strength. And weightlifting is an effective way to improve bone density and prevent weak bones from breaking easily. Bone density is basically the strength of your bones, all right? So if your bones are quite weak, it means that they will likely break quite easily, unfortunately. But if your bones are nice and strong, they're quite dense, meaning, for example, if I have something that I need to fill and it's filled and there's lots of air, it's not very dense. But if it's filled and there's no gaps, then it's dense, meaning it's quite, there's a lot of stuff in there, which then makes that thing stronger. It's the same with our bones. Okay, so weightlifting can actually be really good for our bones, not just our muscles. And I also enjoy weightlifting more personally. I find it to be a more, I don't know, I don't like cardio. Cardio for me just feels like a lot of extra work. So I really, really do prefer to do more strength training or weightlifting. Let's look at some vocabulary. All right, so here's some of the common equipment or the types of things that you will use when you do strength training or weightlifting. The first is the barbell. So it's basically a single bar, right? So this piece here is the bar, and then you add your weight, your discs to that bar, and then you do different types of exercises, okay, like we saw in the previous picture. Then we have a dumbbell. So just remember there's a silent B here. It's not dumbbell, it's just dumbbell, okay? Even the word dumb is a bit, the B is silent, not dumb, okay? So dumbbells, these are basically much smaller. I know they look very similar, but they're quite small, and you normally have one in each hand, okay? So they're not that big. You can use one of them or two of them at the same time. It again depends on the type of exercise that you're doing. Then we have the kettlebell. Okay, so it's kind of like a little ball with a handle, all right? So if you've ever seen an exercise like a kettlebell swing, it's basically a type of exercise where you would use this kind of equipment, okay? Another very common type of way that we do strength training is with a machine. There are lots of different types of machines that work different areas or types of muscles. So this is just an example here. You've got your weights, you select your weights, you get on your machine, and then you do your exercise. So this one, for example, is working his hamstrings and his bum. Okay, so he basically will pull this part up with his legs and pull it down. There are different types. There are types for the arms, for the legs, lots of different types of machines that we get. Some of these machines also have their own special names, and I don't want to go into that too much today because there are quite a few of them. All right, so as long as you just know it's called a machine or a strength machine or weight machine, that's fine. And then, like I said earlier, you don't even need any of these things. You can do strength training at home with your own body, right? We all weigh something, I hope, and you can use the weight of your entire body to give or exercise your muscles. So here you can see they're doing some lunges. All right, so this is normally what we call this type of exercise where you've got a 90-degree and a 90-degree in your legs, and you sort of stand up and go down and stand up and go down. This will work the legs. So basically your legs are pushing the top half of your body up. It's resisting gravity, and then you're bringing it down, and then you resist gravity again every time you stand up. Push-ups are another example of body weight strength training. When you go down and then when you push up again, remember you're pushing, you're resisting gravity. That will work basically your arms, your chest, and maybe a little bit of your back. Okay, so that is strength training or weightlifting. The next one, which has gotten quite popular, I think at least in the last decade or so, so a decade is 10 years, is CrossFit. Okay, so CrossFit is a high-intensity fitness program that combines elements of weightlifting, cardio, and body weight exercises. So basically, You take cardio and strength training, you put them together in different types of exercises, and you get what is called CrossFit. Okay, so that's kind of in the name. CrossFit, when we say cross, we normally mean that we take two things and we combine them. We sort of interlace them. Okay. If you've ever seen, I know that there is a Volkswagen, a VW car, which is like a hatch, but it's also an SUV. It's not quite one or the other. And I think they call it a cross something. I'm not sure. Okay. But that's another example of where you've got something that is not quite one thing or the other. It's a combination of those things. In English, we might say cross. So for example, my one dog, he's got multiple breeds in him. So when somebody asks me, well, what type of dog is he? I have to say that he's a cross breed, meaning he has multiple breeds. His mom and his dad were two different types of dogs. Don't know what they are. So when we want to say the two things are combined and sort of are used together, we would say cross and then whatever the noun might be. In this case, CrossFit. Okay. Some examples. Johan goes to CrossFit classes to challenge himself and complete the WOD. Now, I know you don't know what that means. It's workout of the day, and I'm going to explain that in the vocabulary. And CrossFit workouts help with cardio and strength fitness. It's basically the best of both worlds. You're getting the cardio and the strength combined into one. I enjoy CrossFit. I would say CrossFit is also one of my more favorite types of exercise because I prefer strength, but I also know how important it is to get cardio and to really strengthen that heart. Okay. So some vocabulary, like we said, WOD or WOD. I don't think they say WOD. I think they say WOD is workout of the day. Now, basically in the CrossFit community, every day there's a specific workout that is created for CrossFitters, basically. So this is just an example. Maybe it's 30 wall balls, it's 20 pull-ups and 10 power snatch. I almost couldn't read that. 10 power snatch. I'm not even sure what that exercise is. I don't know them all. So it will be like a specific workout where it will tell you what you need to do and how many you need to do of those things. And that is the workout of the day. So if you go to CrossFit gym and you're not doing a class, there will be a sort of a routine that you can do in the gym that they've developed, which combines the cardio and the strength together. It's quite nice. Then just to go over some common types of exercises that you might see with CrossFit is something like a box jump. So basically here we've got a box and you stand on the floor, you jump on the box and then you jump off and you do that again and again and again. So strength, because you're using your legs to push yourself up. And it's cardio because it takes a lot of work to do that. So if you do it fast enough, you get the cardio aspect of it too. Something very common with CrossFit as well is you'll see something like this. People are basically flipping tires. So it's about picking it up, throwing it over, and doing that several times. A full body workout because you work your legs and your arms when you pick it up, and then your arms when you push it over. So also quite a nice exercise called a tire flip. Now the spelling is different in American and British English. Here in South Africa, we use the Y, but you might also see an I, T-I-R-E. Okay, so it's not a mistake. It's just the way that we spell it here. Both are correct. Okay, yoga. All right, I want to do more yoga, but I find it really difficult. I find it way more difficult than strength training. So yoga is a practice that involves physical postures, breathing techniques, and meditation to promote relaxation and flexibility. Okay. Yoga, there are lots of different types of yoga. I'm not going to go into them because there are so many types of yoga. I'm also not that familiar with all the types of yoga. Some yoga is more about breathing and meditation, so it's not really about physically working your body at all. It's about helping you with your breathing, making sure you get oxygen to the body, or focusing a bit on your mind, okay, to sort of relieve stress. Whereas other kinds of yoga are more focused on being flexible and stretching out the body. And other types of yoga are about maybe doing more cardio. So doing some poses and postures that are a bit faster, that get your heart rate up, that have a little more cardio. So there are different types of yoga. Okay. So some examples, Sarah practices yoga every morning to start her day with a clear mind and relaxed body. Yoga can help reduce stress and improve flexibility and balance. All right, so yoga is really good normally for flexibility and balance if it isn't a meditative practice. A lot of the time it will focus a lot on these two things as well as cardio and strength. Okay, so strength doesn't really do anything like running or push-ups, isn't really going to work on your flexibility because it's not designed to stretch yourself out too much. So yoga is really good if you want sort of overall body health and mental health, because flexibility is really good for your joints, your muscles, and just your health in general. So I highly recommend getting a bit of yoga into your routine. Some vocabulary. Basically, with yoga, you don't need many things. There are different types of equipment, but I wanted to focus on the more common things that we might see. So first is a mat, all right? So what you stand on or lie on is basically called a mat. Sometimes you might hear people say yoga mat specifically. Different types of yoga mats that you get. Sorry, my one earphone just keeps popping out. Here we go. And then we have yoga blocks. Okay, so if you're not that flexible and can't stretch, and maybe you don't have such good balance, but you still want to do the posture, the yoga blocks is kind of where, or the kind of the thing that will help you with that. So here, for example, you might use your hands to balance yourself while you lift one leg up. Okay, so instead of focusing only on your balance, you can focus on stretching the body, and then the blocks will help you a bit with your balance. So we call them yoga blocks. I don't know if there is another name. I did try research, but this is what we call them here. And I didn't find anything else online about what they're called. So yoga blocks. Cool. Next, we have yoga's friend, Pilates. Okay. So Pilates is not like yoga, but it could be similar in some ways. Pilates focuses on strengthening the core muscles, improving posture, and enhancing flexibility through controlled movements. Okay, so Pilates and yoga is different. I promise you there's a difference. Pilates is going to focus a lot more on the core, and we'll look at what that is, but it's basically the part of your body that makes sure that you stand up straight and that you sit straight. That's your core. It's basically what keeps you in good form. Okay. Pilates also works on flexibility, but the movements are different. With yoga, it's more of a flow. So you move from one movement to another in a sort of flow, whereas Pilates might be a bit more, do this exercise for a bit and then change to the next one. Okay, so there isn't a flow between, it's basically do one and then do the next. Whereas yoga will flow into it. There's a way that you move from one to the other. Examples, Pilates has helped Monique reduce her back pain and improve her posture. Many athletes include Pilates in their training routine to enhance their performance. Okay, so yoga and Pilates, a little bit different Pilates also doesn't really focus on any of the breathing techniques or meditative aspects of yoga. Some vocabulary. We have the Pilates reformer. All right, so if you've ever seen this kind of device, they're different looking ones. Some of them have more going on at the top. Okay, I've never used one of these. It's not really popular in South Africa. Okay, but it's called a Pilates reformer, and you can do Pilates exclusively or only on this machine, or you don't need it at all. Okay, not all Pilates needs these. I've done Pilates classes without this before. So then the core, like I said, the core is generally the middle section of your body. It's not abs. Abs are part of the core, but your core is basically everything in the front and everything at the back. So it's your back and your abs and all the muscles in between that keep your body in this nice upright position. Okay, if your core is very weak, you likely will have some back problems or neck problems. So sometimes it's really good to just strengthen the core so that you can make sure even when you're sitting the right way so that you don't have back pain. And then I thought I'd include the word stretch, which basically means to stretch. All right? Think of an elastic. If you pull on it, it will stretch without breaking. And then if you let it go, it goes back to its normal state. Our muscles do the same, right? We can take our muscles and we can pull on them a little bit, and then we can relax them back to their normal. Okay, so when you do something like what she's doing here, this is you're going to feel like this sensation at the back of your leg, and maybe even in your glutes or bum, okay? And it's going to stretch them out, which sort of just helps them to heal. If you've done a workout, stretching is really, really good because muscles get stronger basically by contracting, by sucking in and then releasing. It creates these little tears in the muscles, and stretching helps the muscle just to recover from that. So it's good to stretch before and after because it also helps to prevent injury. I'm always telling my husband to stretch because he hates it. He doesn't like it. I don't know why. And that's probably why he has so many injuries. Okay, he doesn't have that many, but he has enough that I really wish he would stretch more. Okay. All right, next we have what we would call HIIT, okay, or high intensity interval training. Remember, if something is high intensity, it means it requires a lot of effort, okay? If something is low intensity, it's a little less effort that's needed for that. So high intensity interval training involves short bursts of intense exercise followed by short periods of rest or low intensity activity. Generally in exercise, high intensity exercise cannot be done for a long amount of time. Compare walking to running as fast as you possibly can. Okay, if you run as fast as you possibly can, you probably can't do that for a very long amount of time, but you could probably walk for a good hour or more, hopefully more, right? If you're walking and it's a relaxed walk, you can do that for hours. But to run as fast as you can, maybe a minute, 2 minutes, and then you're just tired, your body can't do it anymore. High intensity works in both of those. So imagine that you run for a minute as fast as you can, and then you walk for 30 seconds. And then you run another minute as fast as you can, and then you walk for 30 seconds. That is HIIT, or a HIIT workout. It's a short bursts of intense exercise with a rest where either you rest or you do low intensity like walking. Okay. Some examples. HIIT workouts are time efficient and can be done anywhere, making them perfect for busy schedules. Incorporating HIIT into your routine can boost your metabolism and help you burn more calories throughout the day. So many studies and research shows that HIIT, what's quite nice about it is if you don't have a lot of time, like strength training can take an hour, if not more. Cardio, which is sort of a moderate intensity for a longer period of time, you're still looking at 45 minutes, an hour to do that. If you only have 10 minutes, they say that HIIT is the best option because doing that very high intensity exercise for that short burst is going to really raise the burn or how many calories you burn. So that's what they recommend. Something like even 7 minutes or 10 minutes of a HIIT every day can make a really big impact on your calorie burn and your fitness and your health. So something to consider, because even after the workout, your body is still going to burn some calories. And your heart is going to take a lot of time to recover because it's so highly intense. So something just to consider if you want to exercise, HIIT might be a good place to start. I don't mind HIIT, but I also feel like with HIIT, a lot of the exercises are also high impact. And I don't like jumping or anything that's going to work my knees or my ankles because I generally get a bit of pain in my joints, even at my young age. And I don't want it to get worse. So at this stage, I don't do a lot of high impact, and with high intensity, sometimes there's more high impact exercises. So I do it, but I always opt for low impact. So if it's a jump squat where you squat and then you jump, I just squat and then go on my toes instead of doing the jump. Okay, so there are ways to adapt it. Some vocabulary, there we go, squat, jump. Okay, so basically where you squat and then you jump. If you do a lot of these in a minute, that's very intense. All right, your heart rate is going to go up. Your legs are going to burn because it's strength as well. So squat jumps are a very common exercise with HIIT. Burpee, another common exercise. Basically, you start here. You jump your legs out, you jump them in again, and then you stand up and jump, and you repeat. Burpees. Absolutely hate them, and I also don't jump. I step back, step forward, and then I go on my toes. All right, so there are ways that you can change it. And then high knees. You know, it's like running, but the goal is to bring your knees as high as possible. Then we would call that high knees. Very common in something like a HIIT because it really gets your heart rate up and it's quite difficult to do. Next, OCR. Okay, obstacle course racing, basically. This involves running through a course filled with various physical challenges and obstacles, such as crawling under barriers, climbing walls, and jumping over hurdles. My husband and I used to do OCR before COVID happened. I was not very good at it, but he was really good at it. My husband is quite fit. So I did it as well, and I would probably start it again, but I do the shorter, smaller races, whereas he tends to do the bigger, more difficult ones. It's quite fun. You normally get quite dirty as well. So examples, Sarah loves the thrill of obstacle course races as they test her strength and endurance. And OCR is popular among fitness fans looking for a way to push their limits. Okay, so this type of exercise, it's not just the races that you can do, you can actually use this as an exercise as well. So a lot of training centers or gyms will actually have these walls and cargo nets and like all these different things. We're going to look at a few of them now where you can go and gym there. So it's now not only a type of race, but it's also a type of fitness or exercise that you can do. It requires a lot of strength. You've got to be pretty strong to do this kind of exercise. And you also have to have a lot of endurance. So endurance is being able to do something for a long period of time. Okay, so a marathoner, somebody who likes to run 20, 40 kilometers, has a lot of endurance, okay, because they run the whole way, but they run at a nice steady pace. And OCR has a lot of running in it to get to the different obstacles with the strength in between as well. So it could be like CrossFit, but it's not only like that because there is a bit of running that you've got to do between the obstacles. So normally you have to focus on your heart or cardio and then your strength as well. Let's look at some of that vocabulary. So for example, we might see something like a balance beam. It's basically a small, narrow beam or piece of wood that you have to walk across, requires a lot of balance, of course. So this is a common obstacle that you might find in an OCR race or at an OCR gym. Another thing could be a low crawl. Maybe you've seen it in the army movies. It's very common. Basically, you've got barbed wire, or in OCR, it could just be some rope, okay? And you've got to crawl on the ground. So you've got to use your arms and your elbows while keeping yourself really flat to get through it. Okay, it's actually quite difficult. And then another very common thing that you'll see for super upper body is monkey bars. You also see them in playgrounds, and kids can do this forever, but it's like for some reason when you become an adult, like you just can't do this. Well, at least for me, I can't do this anymore. Okay, you need a lot of hand strength, and my hands are very weak. So monkey bars is kind of another common thing. There are lots of other things like slides or jumps into water. There are lots of other kinds of things that you will see, but I just wanted to go over a few. So balance beam, a low crawl, and monkey bars are common when it comes to OCR. Next, we have Zumba. So Zumba is a dance-based exercise program that combines aerobic movements with upbeat music to create a fun and energetic workout. Zumba is basically dance. So it uses like different types of dance movements. Aerobic is another way of sort of saying cardio in a way. So these movements are all about getting the heart rate up, and it's not really strength focused. Okay, it's more about burning calories and doing it in a bit more of a fun, relaxed way. You've got some cool music, you do some interesting types of moves, and it can be quite fun. So examples, joining a Zumba class is a fun way to stay active and socialize with others who enjoy dancing. Zumba is suitable for people of all ages. All ages? Yes, of course. Zumba is suitable for people of all fitness levels and can help improve coordination and rhythm. Okay, so if your coordination is not so good or your rhythm and you want to work on it, Zumba could be an option for you. Okay, you could also just join a dance class, so you could do any kind of dance, and that is also technically a type of exercise, but Zumba was or is specifically created for gyms. So my gym offers Zumba classes. I don't enjoy it. I feel very silly when I do Zumba, so I generally don't join these classes, but a lot of people really enjoy it. They enjoy dancing and doing it as a way to stay fit and healthy. There's no vocabulary to look at here. So let's move into the next one, which is cycling. Okay, so cycling involves riding a bicycle, of course, either outdoors or on a stationary bike indoors to improve cardiovascular fitness and lower body strength. So there we go, cardiovascular or cardio, okay, and lower body strength because you basically use your legs. You do also use your upper body when you're on the handlebars. Like that, it does use your upper body to keep yourself up, but more legs than anything else. Examples. Taking a bike ride through the park is an enjoyable way to get some exercise and fresh air. Okay. And indoor cycling classes provide a challenging workout without putting stress on the joints. Okay, so here, low impact, right? Because the foot isn't hitting the ground, it's just going round. There's nothing pushing on it. So it's really good for your knees or your ankles. It's a more low impact. Okay. Of course, it's not low impact if you fall. That could hurt. Yeah. So we call it cycling. I often hear people try to say biking and things like that. So that's why I wanted to include this. All right, so it's called cycling as a type of exercise or sport. And the person who does the sport is called a cyclist. Okay, let's look at some vocabulary. Another very popular, all right, type of class is what we call a spin class. Okay, so if you've ever seen very popular in America, right, this is a stationary bike. Stationary means doesn't move, staying in one place. So the bike doesn't go anywhere, but you can still ride it. Okay, so like a spin class, this is what we call this type of class. If you go and ride a bike, listen to some music, you're right, you might have some really cool music, some lights. There are different ways of doing these classes. It's a spin class. Okay, spin because you're basically spinning the wheels or spinning your legs. Okay. Then there are different types of bikes, which I thought I'd talk about. We get a road bicycle. The main difference here is if you look at the tires, right, we can see they're very thin and small. Okay, that's perfect for the road. Whereas a mountain bike, which you might use in the mountains where there isn't a road, you can see the tires are quite thick and they're much bigger. Okay, they're much wider because you need more grip. They also have more, they look a little more like a car tire where you've got these deep grooves or things that stick out, which then create the grip and can handle all the rocks and things like that. Whereas a road bike doesn't need that because it's smooth. Okay. We also have a helmet, all right? This is the protective gear that you might use. We call it a helmet, not a hat, okay? And then we get the saddle or the seat. This is basically what you sit on in a road, on a road or mountain bike, or even on a stationary bike. We have a seat or sometimes a saddle. Okay, you can use either of those words. Okay, I think this is the last one, bar. Okay, I know it's got a weird spelling, but that's because of where it's coming from. So bar workouts combine ballet-inspired movements with elements of Pilates, yoga, and strength training to sculpt and tone muscles, particularly in the legs and the core. Some examples: attending a bar class regularly can lead to improved muscle definition and increased flexibility. Bar exercises often use the ballet bar to assist with balance and form. So that's where the name comes from. This bar that you normally see in a dance studio for the ballet dancers, all right? It's called a bar, and not bar like B-A-R, which is maybe what we would normally use, but I think bar is an older spelling and it's more specific to ballet, and that's why it's used here. So this is called a bar, different spelling, same pronunciation. So this type of exercise I enjoy. I actually really like bar classes. My gym does not offer them, so I normally do them at home and I balance on my sofa. But basically, you're going to do some of the ballet-inspired movements or Pilates and yoga type movements. Okay, so it's really, really good for strength and then also a little bit of cardio. Quite a nice type of exercise to do. All right, and that is basically our different types of exercise. I hope that you enjoyed learning a little bit about these, right? There are quite a lot that we went through today. So let's look at our exercise for today. So today, our exercise is to answer the following questions. Number one, do you exercise at the moment? If not, why not? And if yes, how often? So write in the comments if you're currently exercising. If you're not, why don't you exercise? Is it time? Is it maybe you can't afford classes and that's the only thing that you like? And if yes, how often do you exercise? So for me, I go to gym about 4 times a week, and then I also walk my dogs for about 30 minutes every day. Okay, what is a type of exercise you would like to try and why? So out of all these exercises I showed you today, Would you like to try any of these, and why would you like to try it? Of course, there are lots of other exercises that I didn't even go through today. Like I said, I just wanted to go through more of the common ones, the ones that we would see a little more often. Okay, so how do you win the 50-minute session with me? You complete the whole exercise and share your answers in the comment section of this video. And your exercise must be submitted no later than 1 week after the video was released. So today it was released at 9:30, we could say 10:30 on Sunday. So by next Sunday, 10:30 a.m., you have to complete the exercise. And all you need to do is answer these 2 questions in the comments. For anybody who answers, you will go into a draw to win a 50-minute one-on-one session. If you complete the exercise after next Sunday, 10:30 a.m., you will no longer be able to win the prize, but you will still practice your English. So don't underestimate this power of simply answering these 2 questions in English. Okay, writing and speaking are considered our most active types of activities. Okay, this is where you're going to get a lot more progress if you focus more on speaking and writing than reading and listening. Reading and listening is still good, but speaking and writing, there is more input required, there's more thought required, and they can be really good to sort of progress or see progress in your English. So even if you can't win the prize, still do the exercise. It's good for you. Okay. Just to mention, if you didn't know, I do have an email community. If you would like to join, I will include it in the description. It's English Your Way Mail. I share tips, strategies, learning techniques, and even sometimes some study plans, exclusive offers, all kinds of things on my email list. So if you want to join that community and get access to special discounts or offers, or even just knowing more about how to learn English effectively, sign up. Okay, I promise I don't send you emails 3 times a day, maybe once, twice a week, depending on my schedule during the week. Okay. I also do want to mention that I have a freebie if you would like it. I am all about mastering skills with habits. I think habits are often underestimated in terms of how powerful they can be when it comes to learning a new skill, not just learning English, but learning a new skill. I do focus specifically on habits with learning English, right? Because I think this is something we don't talk about enough, but can make a real difference in your language journey and how far you are and how you progress in English. So if you want to understand how you can use habits, how you can make it really easy, all right, I promise I'm not talking about these huge habits. All right, I highly recommend you download my free guide, also in the description. Lastly, if learning vocabulary is something that makes you cry at night because you just never remember the words and you don't know what to do and it's just painful, I do have some vocabulary templates that you might be interested in. Remember, the way that we remember vocabulary is to create strong associations and connections with it. So I've created 9 templates that you can either complete digitally or you can print them, okay? If you don't have a printer, you can do it all on your computer, on your phone, on your iPad, whatever. All right, you can fill it all in digitally. And basically, they help you to learn new words or review words that you've already covered. And some of them are even games, like I have a Pictionary template, there's a roll the dice template, a story time template, a word of the week, so you can choose one word for the week and then on each day complete different exercises to create those associations. And they're also really colorful and visual, which has been proven by science to improve your memory and retention, okay? When you think about certain words or things, we're always visualizing them in our brains, right? We're not just seeing the words, we're seeing that note or that color that it was written on. And that's why I used a lot of color in these templates as well to help you with the recall. Because I know what it's like to learn a new word. And then when you really, really want it, and you want to use it in a conversation or in your writing or whatever, and you can't access it, that's really, really frustrating. Okay, so just something to consider. If you want to try them out, you can buy them individually or buy them as a pack. Okay, and they're not that expensive, and they really will help you learn vocabulary better. Okay. That is basically it for me today. It was lovely to have you here. I hope you learned lots of new things about different types of exercise. Remember to complete the activity. Okay, remember it's not just about winning the 50-minute session, but it's also about practicing your English, right? Because you're here to learn, to grow. So do that. It will take you less than 5 minutes to complete the activity. That is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed learning about these different types of exercises, and it was lovely to have you here. And I will see you again for my next live at the end of next month. So remember, I have one of these lives once a month at the moment. I am hoping to do more at some stage, but right now I only have time to do one a month. So please do keep an eye out and join me next time. Have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you later.